Namaskaram everyone. I'm coming to you from my garden in France, and you might be able to hear the birds tweeting around me. It's middle of April and spring has begun. So I'm just underneath the apple tree here. No, sorry, cherry tree. And I thought I would talk to you about my Mahashivratri experience that was on the 24th of February. And I happened to be in England at that point. And I was with my good friend Deepa, who has been an Isha volunteer and practicing Isha practices for a long time, as does her family. And yeah, so you've seen my other videos that were kind of on the run-up to Mahashivratri, and if I look back at that time, it was very, very powerful for all sorts of reasons, kind of emotionally, with sensations that I was having in my physical body, just kind of letting go of all sorts of rubbish, emotional rubbish, and yeah, really worked its magic. So on the night I turned up at about 9:30, got slightly lost on the way, hadn't been to her house for ages, and I hadn't eaten very much that day. Satguru suggests not to eat very much, or if anything, so I was basically fasting all day until probably about 2 hours before the start of Mahashivratri evening. I decided that just to kind of get myself through the night and just have a bit more energy, I had a kind of light raw vegan meal, and that was good. I kept it, you know, just light and easy to digest, easy to kind of pass through. Yeah, so when I got there, I asked her very kindly if I could use her shower, and unfortunately the hot water didn't come on, but it didn't matter because Satguru says that you should have cold showers anyway. And if you're in England, have a warm shower and then finish it off with some cold, but this was properly cold. And she had a big bucket, and I kind of got ladles of me kind of over different parts of me and kind of wet my head a bit, and feeling refreshed after the day of, it was the day before my mum's wedding, so we'd been doing all sorts of things in the church in preparation for the wedding, so it was good to kind of start at zero, as it were. And yeah, and when I arrived, the big screen was on with the Sky web link kind of live to the Isha Foundation. My brain isn't working today. The ashram. And I think people said that there was just under 1 million people there, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing having that many people in a small space just sitting there contentedly. But at the beginning they were all like, wait, it was a bit like a party. There were like groups of people dancing. You'd get like little shots of one person maybe sitting there with their eyes closed, just soaking in the atmosphere. And Deepa's husband was actually there doing the photography. He was one of the main photographers, and we saw him on the screen. He was like following Satguru and snapping away, so that was really exciting. And the whole bunch of the UK lot had gone over, and they were all sitting together, and we saw them on the screen. And yeah, it was really exciting. And he actually rang on the mobile phone and said, "You should feel it, the energy here is electric." And I can imagine, because even being thousands of miles away in the UK, it was still pretty electric. So yeah, there were some other people there in the lounge. Deepa invited some others, and yeah, we all got going with the special sadhana process and the chants, and then we had to put our hands, depends if you're a man or a woman which way round you lay your hands, but on the different chakras like this, and then you finish here. And he changed it from last year. He did it differently last year. Last year we had to kind of separate kind of our third eye, this chakra here with our thumbs. It was kind of with these two fingers, and for some reason he decided to do it differently. So that was quite interesting, but it was still just as powerful. And you can tell because the crowd just starts going wild with, I don't know, screams, they shout out, intense laughing. Some people kind of feel like they have to stand up and not be seated and like move around. Their eyes are closed, but they're just kind of in the moment, and they're taken by the energy that's around them, and it's really forceful. For them, it's really powerful. And just want to make a comment that I do have bipolar and I do take lithium, and still not sure. I'll find out when I'm off it, but I feel like it's a bit like I have a lid on it, so there's only so far I can go. You know, it's a mood stabilizer. It affects your cells everywhere in your body, not just your brain, and I kind of feel like there's only so high that I can go with my energies, and I feel like it stops me from going too far or more than, or the same, or being able to achieve like the same kind of feeling or experience that other people get. But the experience that I had was I was able to sit for an hour and a half totally contentedly without needing to move. Very steady, very stable, very rooted, and the main thing that I noticed that was different to last year's Mahashivratri was that my eyes are the main difference, and the only way I can describe that really is that you know how people say your eyes are a window to your mind, and I feel that rings true with the experience I had. So I think because my mind was so steady and so still, my eyes also were. So it was almost like they were a stone, just rock solid. There was no need for any fluttering of the eyelids, but the actual eyeballs themselves, like the nerves that are attached to them and the things that make them move, it was just like there was a cut-off point. It's like the electricity had been cut off for my eyeballs, and they just didn't need to move. They were just solid. And I've never had that experience before. I know that sometimes with my meditations, my eyes do steady, and they feel calmer, and they feel gentler, and they feel like they don't need to move very much. But this was very kind of intensely physically still. It was really funny because I was sitting there for ages. Oh, and I also had some of those kind of movement things, you know, my body wanted to move, and the energy was kind of going up my spine, and, you know, it was kind of a bit jittery and jerky sometimes, and that just kind of felt like my energy moving. Everyone else started talking, and just quietly in the background, because I was obviously still in that place. And then after a while, Deepa just kind of poked her little head round in my shoulder here, and she was like, Joe, do you want a cup of tea? And I was like, huh? What? And I was like, oh, tea, yes please. It was like, I was so away with the fairies, I wasn't expecting her to speak to me. But yeah, after that I just kind of, another 10-15 minutes more, and I came round, and then just very easily chatted until like 3:30 in the morning, and I could have really easily carried on until 6:30, which is kind of the end point of Mahashivratri. And but I knew that I had to give a reading in church the next day, and that the wedding was on, and it would be a late night, and that I wanted to be firing on all cylinders as much as possible. So I decided to leave at 3:30. But that was also a big difference from the year before, was that last year I was much more sluggish. My energy dropped quite quickly after the meditation and the Kriya, and I wanted to sleep, and my head was kind of nodding sometimes, and I just really struggled. I really wanted to lie down, even if it was on my stomach with my head up. And they were like, no, sit up, Joe, you've got to have your spine upright for Mahashivratri all night long to get the most effect out of the cosmos. And but I didn't need to do that at all. We were all just chatting, watching the screen sometimes, because there was some really energetic, powerful music being played with drums. The Africans had come over and they were doing some amazing dances with like foot slapping, and we were like, yeah, and just kind of getting into it. Sometimes I got up and did a bit of dancing, and it was just really easy to stay awake and to keep the energy